Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders at Great Millstone, who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. Starting with the tabernacle of David, all right, who under Yahweh Shai, the 144,000 will be the governing body of the kingdom of heaven, which is the kingdom to come. All right. After that, you have the large multitude, the rest of the men, women, and children whom the Lord will have mercy on. All right. And that whole body, the 144 and the remnant, all right, the large multitude are known as the remnant in the Holy Scriptures. All right. And what you see happening in the planet Earth are moves being made via prophecy, all right, which will lead to the end of Esau's world and the beginning of Jacob's, all right, which is the kingdom of heaven, a fulfillment of the tabernacle of David, all right, being built, all right, and set up on earth as it is in heaven, all right. No government, all right, will top this government, all right. This is going to be something you people have never seen, all right, and it's being set up via the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua in these latter days, all right. And I wanted to get into a bit of prophecy. As you can see, this is off of a site called truthinaction.org. 23 countries now abandoning the US dollar, and you're not going to see this being heavily spoken about in your news, all right, because your news is set up to keep you asleep, okay? All right. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're hoarding up all of the earth's resources, okay? They're hoarding up all of the property. They're hoarding up all of the farmland in preparation of you having nothing, okay, and them having everything, all right. But the Heavenly Father is making moves at this point, all right, to put a halt to their plans. And all of these things that are happening are very, very important to watch, because it all matters for the sake of prophecy, all right. Now we know that currency wars and friction that surround currency usually lead to war, all right, and that's what the Bible prophesies, all right. Armageddon is near and around the corner, all right. As you can see, the nations are growing tired of the whore, all right, and as you can see, they're abandoning the US dollar, okay. It says a new world monetary system is being set up right now, which will completely kill the US dollar, which is the world's reserve currency, all right. And in times past, any nation, all right, i.e., Iraq, Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, I believe Libya, all right, and various, different countries in times past, if they even spoke about, leaving off from the U.S. dollar, all right, their leader would be absolutely, demonized, all right, and propaganda would be set up, all right, via the news to do what? Start a war to completely demonize that particular country, all right? And the same thing's happening in this time, but we're living in a time where Babylon the Great is losing its power, all right? And these weak nations that were once, all right, looked at as no competition to Babylon the Great, they're now strong, all right? And this is all according to biblical prophecy, okay? The only thing that kept the dollar alive, all right, was pretty much the force that came with you leaving it. That along with the petrodollar, of course, for the purposes of oil, were what kept this dollar alive. But now these different nations, as you can see, are trying to form their own thing, all right. And you even have EU nations, all right, working with Russia, all right, which is a result of prophecy and a result of the beast hating the whore, all right, and ultimately this beast system also being separated and broken up. Everything is happening according to biblical prophecy, and are pieces, all right, of the puzzle needed, okay, in order for this thing to completely go into chaos. And it's coming, all right. We just have to continue to prophesy and watch. All right, so it says 23 countries, 60% of the world's GDP are setting up swap lines which bypass the dollar, okay, and SWIFT, all right, which is the dollar-based worldwide financial transaction system, all right. These countries include Russia, And it's funny that they mention them first because it's prophecy. Okay, when you go to Ezekiel 38 chapter, it talks about how Russia, all right, along with Elam, okay, India, and various different countries are going to band together, all right, and Russia will be a guard to these countries. But right here, these countries they have one mind in this case to abandon, all right, that dollar. Okay, these countries include Russia, China, India, even Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, showing you that the beast system is divided on their interest. All right, which a kingdom divided cannot stand. Okay, and that goes and you heard about the Brexit. Okay, showing you that this place is absolutely on its way out. Okay, and all of the prophecies that the scriptures speak of are being fulfilled. As a matter of fact, when you get the book of Obadiah, let's get that real quick. Obadiah. All right, and we're going to just jump to the point. All right, start at 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And prophecy ultimately is how. All right, through this word going out, there's a spirit to expose everything that this devil has going on. He's even telling on himself. All right, it says all the men of thy confederacy. All right, and this a confederacy is an agreement, a coalition of particular nations. All right, let's look up the word confederacy. All right, because in times past, these nations would have never, outside of Russia, which, when it was in the Soviet spirit, the USSR, they were a threat, but that's why NATO was formed. All right, but after that, pretty much that voice died away. Well, now in these latter days, you see more and more Russia is being brought up. That word for confederate, all right, confederacy is Ba-Rayath, all right, a covenant, an alliance, a pledge between men, a treaty, all right, alliance, league, all right. And what's happening is, all right, that the covenants that these particular nations made, all right, which really was for the interest of Babylon the Great, they're being broken. Okay, and that's Daniel the 2nd chapter as well. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Okay, the men that were at peace with thee. All right, and why were most of these nations at peace with Babylon the Great? It was partly because of the reputation. They were scared of Babylon the Great, so they did what they had to do to stay in line. All right, but according to prophecy in the latter days, nations, all right, the weak nations would become strong. Okay, and they would make alliances with Russia, all right, and among themselves to do what? Separate and isolate this place, which is going to lead to its destruction. All right, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. Okay, the EU is being broken up. All right, and they're now doing deals, all right, with Russia in certain instances. All right, doing deals that don't have the interest of Babylon the Great. That's why you seen Trump. He was talking a whole hell of a lot of shit in those EU meetings. And Biden, all right, he put sanctions on Moscow because of moves that were being made. All right, so it's all heating up. And you can see the common denominator that everyone has an evil eye towards is Babylon the Great. All right, they that eat thy bread, okay, they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. All right, and a trap is being laid, and that bread is your debt. Okay, they that eat thy bread, okay, because let's see here. The Hebrew word for bread, okay, is lacham, just bread, food, grain. But when you go to the let's see here, the book of Habakkuk is where it is. All right, Habakkuk, and it says here, to fight, to battle, to make war, to engage in war, uses food to eat. Babylon the Great is responsible for a lot of the the nuclear capability these countries have. All right, they finance their own goddamn destruction, showing you what a loser and a demon he is. All right, the way he's going out, it's tacky. It's all over the place. All right, but pretty much it's by their own means. The Heavenly Father is allowing them to set up their own destruction. All right, but here we go. This is Habakkuk Chapter 2. All right, in 6 it says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him? All these are all these nations, and a taunting proverb, and say, woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his." And America is the laughing stock. All right, here you have in Russia right now, they're telling the moles, all right, the alphabet community, to take your ass over to Babylon the Great with that energy. Okay, China, they're telling their men, their young men, to man up, because Western influence is making their men, all right, soft. Okay, so they're focusing on raising manly men. Okay, meanwhile, what's happening over here in Babylon the Great? Okay, this is off of RT News, and we'll go right back to that. Drag queen show was essential to morale, cohesion, readiness. U.S. Air Force, all right, base tells media. So here it is, as war is being prepared. This is what these people are doing. This is what the U.S. Air Force is doing. They're having a damn drag show concert to boost their morale. And that's in prophecy that their mighty men are going to become as women. Okay? So the first ever drag show was indeed hosted June 17th by the 99th Airborne Wing. All right. It says the event was sponsored by a private organization, provided an opportunity for attendees to learn more about the history and significance of drag performance, and within the alphabet community, said the statement. It says, adding that ensuring our ranks reflect and are inclusive of the American people is essential to the morale, cohesion, and readiness of the military. Okay, they're even in the military. I'm pretty sure the queens they had, were a part of the military, but who knows? All right, but you can read, you can read that on your own time, man. But this is what's going on in Babylon the Great. All right. Meanwhile, these nations are manning the hell up and mocking this damn place, man. But going back to the point I was going to make, it says Habakkuk 2 and 6. All right, give me 1 second here. Habakkuk 2 and 6. Let's see here. Slovakia. Give me 1 second. All right, Habakkuk 2 and 6, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right, and that thick clay, when you go into it, all right, is Ibatyeth. All right, Ibatyeth, which is heavy debts. All right, which this fiat currency, that's what it does. Okay, and we remember, I believe it was Nixon. All right, he took gold from behind the dollar, man. I forget what year, but pretty much it's no longer a true currency, man. It's a fiat currency. It's a debt-based currency, man. So getting into it is a form of spiritual fornication, which all of these nations have committed fornication with the whore. But the nations are now angry, and taking on that dollar is one of the main ways that you commit fornication with her. All right. And this has kept this place as an absolute powerhouse. But we're living in a time where that power is shifting. OK, so the countries that are shifting, all right, and abandoning the U.S. dollar, or even speaking about it, all right, include Russia, China, India, even Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, which are all European nations. Okay, it says once the new system is in place, our dollar won't be needed in these countries and a new reserve currency will come into being. All those dollars in foreign accounts will come home, which will annihilate our monetary system. Then what? That's the question you American people should be asking, but you're so full of propaganda. Okay, now I will say this. A lot of people are waking up, all right? But when you look at who it is, it's Edomites. It's other Edomites who are really waking up and calling out this madness. You have a few Jakes, all right? But the mass majority of Jake is lost in the sauce. But these Edomites are finding out that the elites, which are of their own nation, have fucked them. They screwed them. All right, so you see divisions on all levels, but this is massive, as they say in the UK. This is massive. This should be watched, okay? 23 countries talking about you leaving the U.S. dollar. We know war is coming then, all right? War has to be on the horizon because that's the pattern. You hear about a country talking about abandoning the dollar, all hell's getting ready to break loose, and we've seen it. Okay, it says also China just announced that it will stop purchasing our debt, all right, holding in dollars and reserves. This will force the Federal Reserve to print even more dollars than the 85 billion it's currently printing. All right. And they're absolutely printing all of this money, giving all of these, giving the bag away, basically. As the brothers in the base said, they giving a bag away. All right. Which is ultimately in your eyes, you think it's good. It's a treat. It's destroying the economy. And this is being done, all right, on purpose. OK, Richard Pryor say on purpose. All right. It says world reserve currencies have always had a limited lifespan and ours is up. All right. It's time for Babylon the Great to fall, man. All right. Gives a little history. You can read that. Let me just jump here. It says the list of 23 countries which are creating new swap lines outside of the dollar include China, Russia, India, and surprisingly, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom, which are European nations, all right? And this is all a result of the prophecy we read, all right? That alliance, all right, that treaty that they had amongst themselves. Those nations are now deceiving Babylon the Great, all right? This is Daniel chapter 40, okay? And 2 and 40, it says, "In the fourth kingdom, all right, which was the ancient Roman Empire, shall be as strong as iron, but we know a little horn comes up, which is the revival of it." That's the system we live in, the NATO, the EU, headed by Babylon the Great. All right, "For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise." All right, and now it goes down to the feet, which is the very end of the statue in the dream. All right. The feet are the 10 toes. All right. And whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes, part of it, potter's clay and part iron. All right. Meaning they're partly strong and they're partly mixed. Economically, they're mixed up. All right. Spiritually, they're mixed up. Financially, they're mixed up. They don't agree on any. The only thing that they agree on is that we got to destroy the Israelites. They may agree on that, but other than that, they don't agree on a whole hell of a lot, which is going to put a dent in their plan of world domination. It says the kingdom shall be divided. Okay, and that's what you see happening, man. But there shall be in it the strength of iron, because their military is still a power, but they're going to be used to destroy each other. All right. "For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay." All right. And financially, economically, they're through. Okay. They're in slippery places, man. It says, "And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken." Okay. Let's look up that word broken. Okay. That word for broken, all right, is thabar. Okay, to break, to be broken in pieces. Shabar, to break in pieces. All right, to rend, to wreck, to crush, to quench. And the light of the wicked is being put out. Okay, to shatter is being broken up by the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay, Going back, okay, it says, so they're going to be divided, man. And whereas thou sawest the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. All right, they've made particular covenants and deals. All right, with amongst these different nations, wiggled up and got in power, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right, so they're divided. All right, and that word cleave, okay, they're not going to agree. All right, debak. All right, debak, to cling. They're not going to cling to one another. Okay, the corresponding to cleave, to be joined together, to pursue closely. All right, so they're gonna try to overtake one another. And right now they all have an evil eye towards Babylon the Great. When you go into those EU meetings that were taking place last year, all right, when Trump was the president, those EU presidents, they were basically saying, you Americans need to watch how you talk, all right, to your allies, because you're losing them day by day and you don't have many. Okay, so what's next after this is that the God of heaven is going to set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, because it's for the Israelites, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Okay, and that's what's being set up. But it says this means that the Eurozone itself is abandoning the dollar and preparing for transition to a new central banking system. Interesting. All right, and what kind of system will that be? All right, it says to facilitate the transfer of currencies and swap lines, there needs to be a bank of sufficient size and stature to aid in handling this monetary task. All right, you can read more on this. Let's see here. See, oil transactions is what's pretty much the going to be the hard part to get around. We started in September of last year when an agreement between China and Russia ended the dollar stronghold over oil and how it was purchased. The past 14 months have seen a momentous rush towards setting up the infrastructure to replace the dollar completely in global transactions. And with 23 countries, including those from the BRICS nations and the Eurozone, preparing for new swap lines outside of the dollar hegemony, the fuse has been lit on the dollar's death rattle. All right, and the when has changed into the now. And you see people blah 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 whatever, all right, because they still believe in that American dream, like it says in Revelation, who shall make war with the beast? All right, who shall be able to make war with her? You can't take this place down. But the Heavenly Father is going to use their own power against one another. Okay, now let's see here. This is another article. All right, the ruble strengthens to 11-month high as Russia squeezes out, all right, the U.S. dollar from its economy. Okay, and I'm going to read a quote on this article, all right, from CNBC.com. Russia says it will remove dollar assets from its wealth fund. It said Russia will completely remove U.S. dollar assets from its fund. Timothy Ash, senior emerging market sovereign strategist at Blue Asset Manager, described the decision to ditch the U.S. dollar, all right, assets as very political, all right. And the Biden administration imposed a raft on new sanctions against Moscow in April, all right. I want to read a point in this article, but let's read a little bit here. It says Russia is cutting the U.S. dollar from its $186 billion national wealth fund as Washington continues to impose sanctions against Moscow. All right. The move was announced at the St. Petersburg, all right, International Economic Forum on Thursday, all right, by the finance minister. All right. It says, like the central bank, we have decided to reduce investments of the NWF in dollar assets. All right, he told reporters. Okay, he said, according to the Reuters translation, adding that the NWF will instead invest in euro. See that? Showing you that those EU nations are going to be with Russia as well. It'll only grow. All right, you'll see the China yuan and gold assets. All right, the nations are looking at the whore. Like the nations are angry. All right, and that's ultimately the prophecy. Okay, it said it's supposed to happen within the next month. These other currencies are growing. It said it's a very political decision and one that's meant to send a signal to President Joe Biden's administration ahead of the upcoming summit with President Vladimir Putin. Okay, it says the messaging is we don't need the U.S. We don't need to transact in dollars, and we are invulnerable to more U.S. sanctions. All right, they're undermining your power. Okay. He said in a research note after the announcement, adding that it could be interpreted as a sign that Moscow is expecting more sanctions from the U.S. All right. So they're fed up with this Biden administration. They're fed up with Babylon, period. But this all goes with prophecy. All right. This is Isaiah 13. Now, this whole chapter is about the judgment of Babylon, the Great. All right. When you read it, it's not talking about ancient Babylon. All right. So here it says Babylon will fall to the Medes. All right. Which, when you look at the ancient Medes and their territory, okay, pretty much it's the same territory as the USSR, those nations. All right. Showing you that, as it says, because it's all written in code. Okay. This is speaking of Gog and Magog. When you read Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Isaiah is here saying the same thing. Okay. It says, Isaiah 13 and 17, it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which is spiritually speaking of Russia, Gog and Magog. All right, because that's who's going to be at the forefront of leading this campaign. All right, as a matter of fact, really quick, we can get Revelation, the 20th chapter. Okay. Revelation, the 20th chapter says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan, which are the biblical Edomites, shall be loosed out of his prison. Okay. And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. All right. Then what does it say? Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number is whom is as the sand of the sea. So his ill, which all of them are wicked. All right. But, you know, starting with Babylon the Great. Okay. They have been at the forefront of absolutely spreading wickedness throughout the earth and doing wickedness. All right. But Gog and Magog are going to be at the forefront of leading this war. All right. And the nations are angry. Okay. Revelation 11. Okay. And 18. And the nations were angry. This is where we are. And thy wrath is come in the time of the dead, that they should be judged. The heathen, 2/3 of our people, they're all dead. All right. We're the only ones speaking life. And that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay. Who's destroying the earth? Okay. Esau. Okay. Starting at Babylon the Great. This is the most diluted and poisoned place on the earth, man. Okay. But going back to this article. Okay. Oh, no. I was in Isaiah, the 13th chapter. Let's read this again. All right. Isaiah 13 and 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Now, stir up, all right, means to basically rouse. Okay. I will stir up. All right. I war, to rouse oneself. Now, let's go to this website where I typed in, what does Russia mean? All right. All right. Modern Russia derives its name from the Kievan Rus, All right, the ancestors of Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. The name Rus comes from an Old Norse word for men who row. All right. Now, we know of rowing dealing with, like rowing, stirring up the waters and, rowing a boat. All right. But when you look up the word row, okay, it's dealing with boats. Okay. But as you go down, all right, as a noun, which describes a people or a person, all right, a place or a thing, all right, which that's what the Bible is doing. It's describing, all right, a nation of people and what they would be doing, all right. So argument, quarrel, squabble, fight, all right, contretemps, disagreement, difference of opinion. And you see that between Russia and Babylon the Great, all right, dissension, a falling out, dispute, disputation, all right, a clash, a altercation. Now we know the prophecy in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, says that in the end days that Gog and Magog, which is Russia, would think an evil thought. You see, a slanging match. And they would say, we're going to go to the land where the people are at rest, which is Babylon the Great, shoot missiles. All right. And they're going to do that along with many other nations, man. OK, so as a brother brought out, I forget which brother it was, Russia pretty much means to rouse. All right. And when you go into the prophecy, OK, Isaiah 13:17, it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. Right, which is going to be many nations, but Russia is going to be at the forefront of this mindset. All right. I will stir up the Medes against them. OK, which shall not regard silver as for gold. They shall not delight in it. And this is them separating from Babylon the Great's monetary system. All right. Whereas, their silver and gold, their money standard, which is no longer backed by silver and gold. Okay. But it's speaking of their monetary system, the Medes, which is synonymous with the Russians in this time. Okay. Gog and Magog, they would not delight in it. Okay. And it said, I will stir up. All right. And let's read that definition again. Okay. This is describing what, they would do to war. Okay, to rouse oneself, to awaken, to incite, to be roused. All right. And that's the mindset of Russia in these times. Now, I said that, the Medes and their empire, if you look at it here, all you have to do is look at the Caspian Sea and you can see the territory that was ruled by the Medes. All right. And then when you look at the see here, the Soviet Union, okay, pretty much when you look at the Caspian Sea here, okay, this is pretty much where that ancient Mede Empire, this was a part of it in that, in that time, okay. So pretty much the scriptures is describing everything that we're seeing, okay. It's describing everything we're seeing, okay. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, okay, which you can get that in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, how he's going to put hooks in their jaws, which shall not regard silver as for gold. They shall not delight in it. They're not at all interested in this whole, monetary system, okay. As you can see here, Russia is squeezing out the dollar, the US dollar, from its economy, okay. So prophecy is being fulfilled. Okay, it says their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye shall not spare children. And those Russian soldiers are absolute monsters, man. They have a very, very cold spirit on them, man. They're trained for absolute decimation, man. Okay, it says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. And this is what's coming. Okay, and it's going to be headed by the Russians, Gog and Magog, when you go into prophecy, man. Okay, just look at their training. Okay, look at how rough they are in comparison to what's happening here in Babylon the Great. All right, where you have a bunch of women, all right, and alphabets, okay, in the military. And they're being used to train up a lot of these lesser militaries as well, man. All right, which is prophecy. They would be a guard. Look at this. They ain't playing no games, man. Yeah, man. God damn. We need salvation, man. And that's just a little bit, you know. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and 35. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her. And this place is a melting pot, just like ancient Rome. It says, and they shall become as women. See, a sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. So they're going to become as women. Okay, and that's happening already. Okay, with this as an example. All right, the Nelly is AFB is having a base sanctioned drag queen show. Isn't that awesome? Some maybe some of our military journalists can call them up and ask them about this. Yeah. So Gog and Magog and those different accompanying nations, you know, they ready to kick ass. They ready to get away from the dollar. Okay, and they're ready to fulfill prophecy. All right, which they're gonna do that along with various other countries. All right, this is Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns, all right, which are the EU nations, okay, which thou sawest upon the beast, okay, these shall hate the whore, and Russia's going to have a lot to do with that, and shall make her desolate, all right, and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, okay. Now Russia isn't going to have everything to do with this, as the EU has their own issues with Babylon the Great, but all right, as you can see, there are ties, okay, monetarily, all right, as Russia is clinging to the euro. It says, for God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, okay, they're being roused up as well, and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled, okay. So we're living in a time of great war, and this is what we prophesy for, all right, for the reason of these things being fulfilled, because it is our job to speak these things into existence. They're already written, but we have the words, all right, to bring out the understanding, okay, and to speak these things into existence, man. Okay, Joel 3 and 9, proclaim this, ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, rouse them up. Okay, let all the men draw near, let them come up. All right, beat your plowshares into swords, okay, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong, and that's happening. All right, there's particular nations that in times past would have never talked shit to Babylon the Great. Now they're talking. All right, China, North Korea, okay, and various different countries are now saying, I am strong. Okay, various other countries too. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Okay, and that's happening. Okay, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, all right, over there in the Middle East where all of the armies are gathering. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, so this is what's being prepared, all right. But as we know, before a lot of physical wars, there's currency wars, okay, and we're seeing that here. So I just wanted to bring that out. Lord willing, we'll be back with more information. Hopefully you all were edified. On to the next. Call Halal Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and salutations unto the elect. Shalom.